One of my favorite condiments that you find in Mexico City taquerias is pickled Manzano chilies and onions. Besides all of the different salsas that you'll find in taquerias and little snack shops around Mexico, especially around central Mexico, you will usually find some pickled onions. Now they kind of come in two different versions. The one with the Manzano chilies, where there's a lot of Manzano chilies in it, and then the ones that have habanero chili, which just has a small amount of habaneros because they're so incredibly spicy. But the approach to making them is basically the same. So we're going to start with a white onion, and then you get your Manzano chilies. Now, if you've never heard of Manzano chilies before, you are not alone. These are not very well known out of Mexico. You can find them in a lot of Mexican grocery stores, so look for them, but you probably won't be finding them in your regular grocery store. This is actually a new arrival in Mexico. I mean, I say new, but within the last 100 years or so. Mexico is the birthplace for most of the varieties of chilies that we find used not only in Mexico but all over the world. And that would be the name, the classification name is Capsicum annum. So this is one that comes from way farther south. This is native to Peru and that area. This is the Capsicum pubescens, and it is known for being spicy usually, though there seems to be some varieties of it that are not so spicy these days. But for having black seeds, it's going to be the only chili that you'll probably ever see that has black seeds. Now, when we're working with these guys, we cut them up, and you'll notice that, oh, I didn't even go to the name that it's called in its native Peru. This is rocoto in Peru, and it's used as a chili that you stuff oftentimes. You can see it looks like a small bell pepper. Okay, now let's go to the cutting up of this chili. So cut them in half. You see those little seeds, the black seeds that are in there, and then pull out that seed pod just much as you would for a bell pepper. And then I want to cut in about 1/4 inch pieces like this all the way around. Nothing fancy here, nothing really to know. I've just got to cut up the rest of these, and then we'll go on to the onion part of it. Okay, I think I misled you. I said 1/4 inch, but that's much finer than that. We're making a condiment, so about half that, about 1/8 of an inch or so. And you know that name chili manzano, it might confuse some of you because you may know the word manzana, which is the word for apple. Chili manzano means that it's an apple-shaped chili, and you could see that when I was working with it. It looks a little bit like an apple shape. Okay, next thing is the onion. Again, we will use white onion like they do in Mexico. Because this is going to give us not only the right texture, but also the right flavor, that really bright flavor. We're making a condiment here, and so we don't want a sweet onion for this. We want one of those really bright tasting onions. Again, about 1/8 of an inch slices. Okay, all of that's going to go into the bowl with the Manzano chilies. And I will say that if you're going to make this with the habanero chilies, I laid a couple of these habaneros out, you're just going to seed them the same way we did the manzanos, but there's very little flesh here because they're so incredibly hot. So it'll mostly look like a pickled onion dish. Here it's going to be much more of chilies and onions. Now with a pickling part of this, you have basically two choices. You could make it with fresh squeezed lime juice, in which case you're going to need about 1/2 cup for this. But only choose fresh squeezed lime juice if you are going to use it within the next, say, 24 hours or so, because the flavor of the lime will fade. If you want to keep these in your refrigerator for a considerable amount of time, then I would suggest doing it with vinegar, which is what I have here. A light vinegar works really good. Like it could be a white wine vinegar if you wanted to, but typically in Mexico it would be something that's fruit-based, like an apple cider vinegar. But I like rice wine vinegar a lot too because it's such a light flavor. Most of them will be about 5% acidity, and they will need to be cut. So I start with 1/4 cup of vinegar, and then I'm going to just go to the sink and put in 1/4 cup of water. and then pour that over all of the stuff in the bowl there. A couple of, well, first of all, you certainly have to have salt in this thing. And I'm going to say I measured amount of salt for this, which would be 1/2 teaspoon of it. So we'll put that over there. And then it's typical in this dish to put a little Mexican oregano. And about a teaspoon or so of the oregano is right. So I'm going to just rub it between my palms because Mexican oregano is sold in the whole leaf form, and pulverize it that way. And then all we have to do is to stir everything up. And you'll notice that I don't have a lot of pickling liquid here. And that's because I don't really want to waste that pickling liquid. So I suggest that you put it in a straight-sided container. And then you can pack everything down. And you'll have just about enough of the liquid to cover everything. So I'm choosing like a mason jar here so that we can actually pack it down in there. Now, when you press this down, if it doesn't kind of come up to the level of it, then you're going to need to add a little bit more of these. I'm going to let this sit for a little while because it will compact a little bit more, and then I should see, and also the salt will bring out some of the natural juices in all of this, and you'll have the right amount of pickling brine. A couple of hours is your minimum amount of pickle. This is a quick pickle. I would suggest leaving it overnight and serving it the following day, just because it gives you this really beautiful end result here. This stuff is just so delicious as one of the garnishes on your favorite taco, especially if you're doing something like grilled steak or something. This is just a perfect contrast to that. So I hope you enjoy exploring other ways to use this gorgeous pickled Manzano chili and white onion. Think about on sandwiches. Think about maybe even a milanesa. That's one of the ways I like this the absolute best. And I'm going to show you in another video how to make milanesa and how to use this as the perfect condiment for it.